I've switched! I haven't really. I'm just using this more than this, and I think that says a lot. I've had this phone for about 2 months now. It's the Z Fold7, and it's the best foldable on the market. It's better than the Honor Magic V5 that was launched in the UK last week. However, what I need to talk about today are the reasons I'm using this more than this. This is my trusty iPhone 16e. Yes, really. And this has become like a secondary device. It never used to be. The iPhone has always been my primary device, but since I've had this, that isn't the case anymore. And I've discovered 4 reasons that's the case. 4 reasons I think the Z Fold7, for me, is better than the iPhone. Not the 16e specifically, but yeah, let's get into it. And also, just really, again, very quickly, clear something up. Last week I reviewed the Google Pixel 10 and the headline was "I switched," and immediately that gets people's backs up, even though right at the start of the video, I think within the first 90 seconds, I made it abundantly clear that I switched for a weekend. It wasn't a permanent thing. I think I even said that, but that didn't stop certain people from not listening and going into the comments and saying, "Oh, he won't switch, wait a month and he'll be saying he's switched back to the iPhone 17, whatever." Just to confirm, yes, us tech reviewers are quite annoying because we do this switched thing, but the reason we do that is because it gets the views. We don't make the rules. This is how tech YouTube works. It rewards you for doing that. What's important is the video that comes after that title. And what fascinates me is which phone I pick up the most often, because as a tech reviewer, I have more phones than I've got pairs of pants, to be completely honest, and that's underwear in the UK, just for the US listeners. Where's this going? Anyway, the only time I've ever switched completely from the iPhone to something else was the S24 Ultra last year. That was a genuine complete switch. I did go back to the iPhone eventually. This isn't a switching video. This is purely me explaining why, even though I have an iPhone, which feels like a warm, safe pair of slippers from, the 1990s that I just do not want to throw away, I keep picking up this more, and this has become my main phone because of that. I'll explain where that leaves the iPhone later, but let's get into the 4 things that I think make me want this more than this. Reason number 1 is the amount of effort Samsung has put into the Fold 7. So we've got some earlier generations here of the Fold, which they're so heavy, particularly that one. I don't know which one's which here, by the way, but that's kind of the point that I'm making. They all look very similar. There are some changes to the camera bump. The Fold 6 is definitely lighter and a little bit thinner, but they are basically the same device. Very narrow, way too narrow front display, and just chunkier than some of the competition from when these phones were launched. And then 2025 comes along and we get this, and it's such a huge departure from the Fold 6 and from those previous generation Folds. They've done so much to this design. They've really gone for it. They've made it thinner, lighter, wider on the front. The internal display is bigger as well. Everything about it is better. It's just such a massive about turn. In fact, that's not fair. It's not an about turn. It's listening to the audience, listening to people who wanted a much thinner and more, let's be honest, usable Fold than the Fold 4, 5, 6 and all the rest of them, and making those changes. And what Samsung did is they waited and waited and waited, which I think was partly to keep the existing Fold fans, and there were very, very many of these people, satisfied and happy, because big changes like this, it can go wrong. You can annoy the fans of that particular product. When it really needed to change, which was 2025, they did it. I applaud Samsung for that. We don't get such massive sweeping changes, particularly phones these days. They're very much iterative updates every year. So to go from, that to that in basically 12 months, I can't ignore that. That is such an exciting thing. Reason number 2 will definitely get some of you commenting and disagreeing with me down below, so get involved if that's you. I think this is possibly, no, let's not sit on the fence. Let's be upfront and confident about this. I think this is the perfect form factor. It's thin, it's light, it's one-handed. I've not got massive hands at all, but I can type one-handed and not feel like I'm going to drop it, which is a big deal. But if I want more screen estate, you get that as well. And bearing in mind that this is thinner than some regular phones, and it's definitely as thick as some regular phones. It doesn't feel like you've got a foldable phone in your pocket, whereas this definitely felt like a foldable phone. This slips into your pocket, into your bag, and you just don't notice it. And then you get it out and it works perfectly like that. And then you go like that and I think it's perfect. No, it is. I think it's the perfect form factor. There's one problem which I'll explain later, but that aside, it's just incredible. I think it's easy to look past the design change here, even though I've said it's a big change a moment ago, but the whole thinness debate between this and the V5, that's very much Blur versus Oasis. It's a bit boring, it's a bit pointless. It's missing the point about how big a deal it is to have a phone this thin. Reason number 3 that I'm picking up the Fold 7 more than the iPhone 16e is because you have those two displays. Now, one of the biggest challenges for foldables in terms of selling them and illustrating the benefit of having one of these over a regular phone is, when do you use that massive display? Because if the outer display is so good, and it is very good on this, then what reason do you have to keep going like that? Which is a bit of an effort. You have to be intentional about it. I think if you persevere with it, if you have one of these phones for instance 2 months like I've had, you will find very compelling use cases for it. For instance, I watched all of Underworld's Boiler Room set on my couch last night with this, like that, with my headphones on, and it was such a good experience. It was certainly a better experience than doing this, or even on a bigger phone doing that. There's just something about having that great big canvas to watch stuff on. Equally, if I'm doing some more productivity type stuff like email, where I need to be emailing someone and then referencing something else, the ability to do that as a split screen thing on here, again, you can't do that on the iPhone. So having those two displays is a huge, huge bonus. Reason number 4 is AI, and it's AI that works. Now, I'm not using this as an excuse to throw shade at Apple and trash talk Apple Intelligence. It's not worth doing that. They're behind, they're working on it, they've apologized for it being late and all this sort of, even though some of it is already there, they've apologized for the more advanced stuff not being here yet, etc., etc. However, you can't ignore the fact that they are so far behind Apple, Google, and Samsung. It's the difference is just biblical. And when you use something like the Z Fold7 for a period of time and you start getting involved in Gemini and Galaxy AI and using those little AI features here and there, you just realize how good it is and how almost faultless it is. So I'm not a big AI user, I've always said this, but if I need to remove things from photos occasionally, which does happen now and again, or maybe remove reflections or whatever, it just works. Equally, Google Gemini is the best assistant out there. It's insane what you can do with this thing. So if I go into the live thing now, I can point this camera at anything. What do I have in front of me?
There are several cell phone cases and phones on the table. Are you looking for information on a specific one?
No, but what do I appear to be doing?
It looks like you're filming a product demonstration or review of some sort, given the camera setup and the phones on the table. Is that right?
It is.
So you're setting up for a product review? What can I help you with?
Have you heard of Mark Ellis reviews?
Yeah, Mark Ellis is a tech reviewer who focuses on making tech accessible to everyone. His reviews are pretty popular, and he covers a wide range of gadgets. Are you looking for a comparison to his style of reviews?
Stop that. Yeah, so AI, it works, and that's more than can be said for this. Now, before I get accused of this being an ad or something, I should confirm that this is not a perfect device and it's not for everyone. There's 3 things that I don't like about it. The first one is that it's very expensive still. The Honor Magic V5 is cheaper. It's definitely worth checking out my full review of this, which we'll link to at the end of this video, just to see if it might be for you instead. But regardless, foldables are still very expensive, and the Fold 7 is one of the most expensive. The second thing is that we get table wobble. So if I just quickly point you down here, we don't get this on the Magic V5. It's pretty much, it wobbles a little bit, but it's much more stable than this, because the camera bump is here, which means if you put it on the table like that, it doesn't really bother me, but you can get a shot of it with a case, but it can be a bit annoying if you're a caseless person like myself. The third thing is that it needs a better zoom. So the main camera on here is really really good. It's as good as the S25 Ultra because it's basically that camera, but the zoom, I want 5 times, please Samsung. On the next Fold, on the Fold 8, can we just have the exact same zoom range, optical zoom range as the S25 or the S26 Ultra as it will be then? That's the one thing where it's nearly there. It's just not quite. They're the 3 things I don't like about it. The big question though is, where does this all leave my iPhone? So as mentioned earlier, I haven't ditched the iPhone at all. It comes with me everywhere, but it comes with me for very specific and very boring reasons. The first one is the Apple Watch, which I'm not wearing at the moment, but I do wear the Apple Watch quite often, and I need an iPhone to make that work properly. The second reason is Apple Pay. I prefer Apple Pay to Google Pay personally. It works, in my experience, just a bit quicker. And also, I use it on the Underground in London, just as a tap and go, and it's just very quick. The third reason is AirDrop. Such a stupid reason, but and I know I can get round this between Android and macOS with this, but it's still not as quick as AirDrop. If I've got something, I do this every day, multiple times each day. If I've got something on this phone or on the Mac that I need to transfer to the other device, it works every time. It's one of those Apple things that just works. That's it. For everything else, I use this. And where does this leave the iPhone for me? You might be watching this before the iPhone 17 launch and my review of that device, but this is being made before that. It's very important to mention that. So I want the iPhone 17 to be interesting. I want there to be a new model, which there might be, which in itself will be interesting. That will help turn me on again to the iPhone a bit more wholesomely. But aside from that, it's not going to be Apple Intelligence because I just don't care anymore about that. It's not the ecosystem because it feels like more of a trap than even though it is a benefit. You know what I mean? It feels like, I wish I could just break free of it a little bit more. So it's not the ecosystem. I think because Samsung has made such a massive change from that to that. And I just, like I said right at the start, I admire that. Apple needs to do something similar with the iPhone, but will they? Will they do that? Guys, as always, it's over to you. Firstly, if you haven't hit subscribe yet, but you've been watching this channel for a while, make sure you click that button. If you're new to the channel and you've enjoyed this video, then again, consider clicking that button and give the video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Please get involved in the comments. Have you got the Fold 7? What do you think about it? Are you more of an iPhone person? Do you think this comparison, if you can call it that, is stupid or valuable? Do you think Apple should make a foldable phone, which we keep hearing rumors about? Get involved down below, and I promise I'll get involved as well. See you down there.